Okay, this is chapter 26, evacuation. Like not evacuation, but evacuation, I guess. I don't know. But I just looked at the questions and one of them was was something like what is this idea about the Denver evacuation and is it a good idea or a bad idea? So, and then the next question was like what is wrong with Mr. Appleton right before they're about to leave? So, oh, and then why does he ask about his gun? So, okay, that's what you should probably think about, I'm guessing, for this chapter. After breakfast the next morning, Chloe was my helper, and she said, "Just do whatever, Dean. I want to hang out with Robbie." Josie and Alex gave Robbie a tour of the store. All the little kids went along, shining their flashlights all over the place. I was getting lunch on the table when Jake wandered into the kitchen and slung himself down at a booth. He looked worse than he had the day before, if such a thing was possible. "You okay?" I asked him. "Dean, dude, is there any coffee?" "Sure, Jake," I said. "You take cream and sugar, right?" He nodded and his low hung head began to bob. He was crying, I realized. I put my hand on his shoulder as I set the coffee down. "It's going to be okay," I said. "It's not. It's never going to be okay again." I just stayed standing where I was. I felt like if I sat down, he'd stop talking. "I keep taking these pills, but every time they're working less. It's like I squeezed all the good feeling out of my brain and now I'm out. I drained it all out and I'm done." "Jake, you gotta lay off the pills." I know, he mumbled. "I'll stop today." He turned to go just as Sahalia came over. She was wearing leggings, a tank top, and some kind of blazer. "Have you guys seen Robbie?" she asked. "He's with Josie and Alex and the little kids," I said. "They're touring the store." "Sweet," she said. "See ya." Robbie was definitely the big man on campus. As I was plating the food, Mr. Appleton walked in. He was definitely looking better. "Mmm," he said, eyeing the steaming hot orange chicken I was dumping into a bowl. "Chinese?" "Yep," I answered. "I'm serving fried rice, too." "Have you seen Nico?" Mr. Appleton asked me. "I want to start packing up." That was interesting to me. I had sort of assumed that Mr. Appleton wanted to stay, as Robbie clearly did. "Lunch!" I yelled. Mr. Appleton jumped. "Sorry," I said. Then I hollered again. "Lunch! Come and get it!" I heard the sound of the hungry hordes moving toward the kitchen. "You're feeling like you can travel?" I asked Mr. Appleton as I set out the plates, forks, and napkins. "I want to honor our agreement," he said. "And yes, I guess I am anxious to get on the way." "Why?" "Well, we need to have another meeting," Mr. Appleton said, "so I can tell you about Denver." The kids swarmed in. "Mmm, Chinese," Max said. "I love Chinese," chirped Caroline. "Wait," I said to Mr. A. "What about Denver?" Nico came in. He had his arms crossed over his chest. He stood behind Batiste on line. "Oh, Nico," Mr. Appleton said, "I want to talk to you about our departure plan." "Really?" Nico said. "Okay, good." "And I realized we haven't told you about Denver yet." "What about Denver?" I said, shooing Ulysses and Max off to a table. "What's this now?" Robbie said, ambling up. "They're evacuating people," Mr. Appleton said to Nico and me. "If you can get yourself to the Denver International Airport, you can be evacuated." "What do you mean, evacuated?" Chloe demanded, cutting into the line. Okay, and by the way, this is the reason why Mr. Appleton does want to leave and why he's in a hurry to leave. Because he said, page 229, Mr. Appleton said to Nico and me, "If you can get yourself to the Denver International Airport, you can be evacuated." So I guess he's like talking about, going to a safer place somewhere, I guess. By now, most of the kids had their plates and were seated. Mr. Appleton turned to face them. It looked like a class set in a pizza shack. Weird. "Well, children," Mr. Appleton said, "when there is a crisis in an area, the government comes and evacuates the people living in that area. Evacuation is the transfer of large groups of people to a safer place." What do you mean? Batiste interrupted. Many people in this area are making their way to the Denver airport, Mr. Appleton explained. It is rumored that the government is flying people out by helicopter and taking them to Alaska. Caroline raised her hand. Do you mean like our mommy? She asked. Like our mommy might be going to Denver to go away in a helicopter? Possibly, Mr. Appleton said. All at once, everyone was talking, screaming, shouting. Denver! 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 We had to go to Denver! We could drive the bus to Denver! We had to leave today for Denver! Nico was shaking his head, already imagining the chaos this news was going to create. Whoa, 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 Mr. Appleton said, holding his hands up. The kids gradually fell silent, though Henry had the hiccups. It's not at all feasible for you kids to make it to Denver. Absolutely not. It is too dangerous out there for you. But we want to find our mommy, Caroline said. Her freckled face was so sad. It was hard not to just sweep her into a hug. I understand that, Caroline, Mr. Appleton said. And that is why Robbie and I are going to Denver. We will be airlifted to Alaska, and then we will find your parents and tell them where you are so they can come for you. The little kids started smiling. They started clapping and grinning, wiping their tears away. Nico was grinning. This was the happiest I'd ever seen Nico, and I understood why. The men were leaving. He hadn't had to make them leave, so he didn't look like the bad guy anymore. And on top of it all, now there was a prayer we might be rescued. Hope. It was a real glimmer of hope Mr. Appleton had just given us. Everyone talked with excitement. Nico, Alex, and Mr. Appleton started talking about what supplies the men would need. Only one person looked unhappy, Robbie. I could tell that he really had wanted to stay with us. He stalked away. Sahalia watched him go, then started after him. I thought she was probably going to beg him to take her along. I didn't think about it too long because Mr. Appleton said, Now, if you kids will please go to your school area, you may each write a letter to your parents for Robbie and me to deliver. I was throwing away the remains of our meal when Alex came back. He held a small storage bin with some electronics in it. Can I show you something? He asked me. Of course. I was happy he was even bothering to show me anything. We weren't getting along like we should be. Alex took 2 video walkie-talkies out of the bin. One of them had an extra long antenna attached and some extra wiring all held together by some blue electrical tape. It's a video walkie-talkie, but I amped up the transmitter with this antenna, he explained. I've been testing it, and so far, it works pretty well in the confines of the store. That's cool, I said. Are you thinking we could use it as, like, an intercom? No, he said. I thought maybe Mr. Appleton would take it with him. That way we could see what's going on outside. Again. Like always, I was bowled over by my brother's brilliance. That's incredible, Alex. That's such a great idea. They're going to love it. He went off to show it to Nico and Mr. Appleton. I sat down to write a letter to our parents. I tried to tell them what had happened to us. I wrote that Alex and I were taking care of each other and that I'd made sure to keep him safe no matter what. I had to do a better job of that. But it's hard to take care of someone who doesn't want or really even needs your help. Mr. Appleton and Robbie came to the kitchen with Nico and Alex a little while later. I had seen the 4 of them in the bicycle aisle. They had picked out 2 sturdy, high-end mountain bikes. Now that their success was linked to our dreams of finding our parents, we wanted them to have everything they wanted. They could take the whole store if they wanted, just get us our parents back. Dean, Nico said, have you given some thought to the food we could send with these guys? I had. I had a plastic storage bin filled with stuff. 2 boxes of granola bars, 1 box protein bars, 2 bags trail mix, 4 cans raviolios, 4 cans of beans, 1 bag of dried beans, 1 bag of rice, 1 box of instant oatmeal, 2 jars of instant coffee, and 1 box of powdered milk. I had also set out 4-gallon bottles of water and 6-liter bottles of Gatorade. I don't know, that seemed like the most they'd be able to carry. You guys can take as much dog food as you want, I offered. Robbie shrugged. Luna does pretty well for herself, he said. He seemed down. He was looking at the floor. He didn't want to leave, that was clear. Mr. Appleton started rummaging through the plastic box. I went over to Alex. Are they going to take the walkie-talkies? I asked him. Yeah, they thought it was a great idea. Mr. Appleton said I am very ingenious. His serious face looked proud. I put my arm around his shoulder and kind of gave him a hug. He shrugged it off and went to stand next to Nico. They were best buds again, I guess. I tried not to care. Mr. Appleton lifted the tub and seemed okay with the weight. Going through it, though, he discarded the raviolios. Do you have any beef jerky? He asked me. Sure, I said, and I turned to go get it for them. I'll go with him, Robbie said. Robbie and I went back toward the snack food aisle. I feel like I can trust you, Robbie said to me, putting his hand on my shoulder. I'm in a bind and I don't know what to do. What's wrong? I said. Craig wants to leave right away, but I don't think he's well enough to go. I know that Nico had said you guys could stay at least another day, I said. Yeah, and now Craig wants to go today. He wants to go right now, and I'm not sure he's up to it. We had reached the jerky, and he skimmed his hand over some packs. I think he's afraid he's going to die. He wants to try to get to Denver before he dies. Robbie turned to me. I think the longer we stay, the better. I mean, I want to get your letter to your folks. I do. But I don't know what kind of chance we have with him the way he is. Okay, so that is actually the real reason that Robbie doesn't want to leave, because he thinks that Mr. Appleton, or Craig, is not really ready to go. And that's also the answer for why Mr. Appleton really does want to go so quickly, and it's because he's afraid that if he doesn't go right now, he's going to die. Okay. Oh, and that's page... I think it started on page 233 and 234. It says, I think he's afraid he's going to die. He wants to try to get to Denver before he dies. And then Robbie also said, I think the longer we stay, the better. I mean, I want to get your letters to your folks. I do, but I don't know what kind of chance we have with him the way he is. Okay. I feel really bad, Robbie, I said. But I don't know what to do. Truthfully, I think before we all knew about Denver, most of us would have wanted you to just stay, like forever. Maybe it was too much to say that. Maybe I had crossed a line, but I felt bad. To have to go back out there after everything he'd been through, when it was safe in the store and we all wanted him to stay. It was rough. But I also have to say, and this was the truth in every way, if you can go to Alaska and find our parents, you would be our hero forever and ever. Robbie sighed. That's true, he said. I would like to help you kids. When we got back, Nico was helping Mr. Appleton pack up 2 large frame backpacks and 2 bicycle saddlebags. I saw on the ground 2 small camping stoves, the kind that are just a can of fuel and a metal thing that goes on top. Also, 2 thermal sleeping bags, the very thin space blanket kind, and a bunch of matches and some Ziploc bags. Ponchos, flares, camping stuff from the sports department. Alex's video gear was in a heap next to the clothing. Most key, a Ziploc bag containing a list of our names and our letters. Nico and Mr. Appleton were methodically packing the stuff up. Mr. Appleton, I was just wondering. I had to try on Robbie's behalf. I mean, it's fine with us for you to spend some more time here. We all want you to make it to Denver with our messages. Why don't you just wait until you feel a little better? I have already discussed this with Nico, he said stiffly. We don't know when the evacuation began, Nico said, so if they wait too long, they might miss it. Besides, we've hit on the right antibiotics, and I'm already starting to feel better, Mr. Appleton added. Okay, those were sound arguments, but why wouldn't he meet my eyes? We'll have dinner with you, and then we'll go, he said. Robbie was staring at Mr. Appleton with irritation and maybe anger on his face. When Robbie saw me looking at him, he gave me a weak smile.